so much.
He gave a big speech. He said, "We do big things," and he claimed credit for President Bush's big tax cuts. We're going to unpack the State of the Union from a Christian conservative point of view. This is the CitizenLink Report. Hi, I'm Stuart Shepard along with Ashley Horne, our federal policy analyst. Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Stuart.
As you've probably already noticed, we're not in our usual borrowed studio that we enjoy being in because we're doing this a day later so we can talk about the State of the Union. We had to move out, so we're just kind of winging it today a la web. So this is what we'll do. Ashley, first question is the big picture question. What was your overall impression of the speech?
You know, I felt like the speech lacked luster. You know, in this economy, people were looking for inspiration. I know I was, and I didn't really feel that. And I wonder if it's because, you know, he lost a tough election, or the Democrats did, and they're still reeling from that. You never know. There
was a lot of tepid applause. Is that a nice way to put it? There were applause lines that didn't really get the reaction I think the speechwriter was hoping for.
Absolutely, there was. There was a little bit of applause here and there, but just not what we've seen in years past.
Let's consider a few of the specifics. First, education. President Obama called his Race to the Top plan the most meaningful reform of our public schools in a generation.
You see, we know what's possible from our children when reform isn't just a top-down mandate, but the work of local teachers and principals, school boards and communities.
Ashley?
You know, it would have been great for him to even give a shout out to the homeschool community as well. We know homeschooling is a very big part, especially as a Christian community, but it's great for kids also. One thing I do want to mention that he did not mention in his speech was the DC Opportunity Scholarship Program. This is a program that allows for scholarships for kids in DC who are in failing schools to be moved into private schools. It's a $7,500 scholarship. Kids have been succeeding with this program, but so far the Democrats and President Obama have refused to extend this program, and it will expire, and kids will no longer have that opportunity, which is very sad because DC is a very struggling economy in the school system.
And two notes on that. First of all, President Obama's kids are in a school where there are children who are on the DC Opportunity Scholarships. They would never get that chance without that program in place. And there were some special guests up in the House Speaker's box.
There were, and you're right, his children are benefiting from private schools, so we say, well, why not let these DC kids benefit also from private schooling? In Speaker Boehner's box at the State of the Union, there were children from DC who were benefiting from this Opportunity Scholarship Program. And one thing to mention too is Speaker Boehner will be introducing today actually the bill that will continue forward, keep the DC Opportunity Scholarship going. And so that bill will be in the House and the Senate, and we'll see if President Obama will put his money where his mouth is, so to speak, when he says he wants true education reform and that our kids deserve better.
Yeah, real quick, what are the dynamics that are keeping him from pressing for homeschooling in private schools and opportunity scholarships? What's keeping the president from doing that, if it's working so well?
You know, unions are a big part of that answer. They can't get dues from private school teachers, and so they're really pushing hard to keep those private schools and those homeschooling, that kind of thing, under control, because they really want those public school dues.
And a lot of people may not realize the National Education Association, which we hear so much about, is the nation's largest teachers union. That's what we're talking about. And it's worth pointing out, the head of that organization does not like Race to the Top. He even looked furious in the speech he gave not too long ago. All right, healthcare. As usual, the president made a big point of the parts that are popular with most people, such as no pre-existing conditions, kids staying on their parents' plan until they're not kids anymore.
So I say to this chamber tonight, instead of refighting the battles of the last 2 years, let's fix what needs fixing and let's move forward.
Of course, there is that other option, repealing it completely.
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting that he said, let's fix what needs fixing. Well, how about the majority of Americans who did not, and told him they did not want abortion funding? They didn't want their tax dollars being used for abortion in the health care bill. He completely didn't listen. In fact, the other line over there that I don't think we showed, he said that good ideas are needed to make the law better. Okay, well, there's a really good idea. It's a good start, and we really would support that. But so far he said absolutely not.
You're hitting on the top social issue, one of the top social issues that's been debated for decades now. Notably, the president made no mention whatsoever of the life issue from any direction. Now, of course, last weekend, he issued a statement on the anniversary of Roe v. Wade, the 38th anniversary, affirming what he called reproductive health and women's choices and that sort of thing. So he's fully on board. And he said during the campaign he was pro-choice, but I don't think a lot of folks realize how pro-abortion he is and how much he wants to use federal tax dollars for that. There was someone who mentioned it somewhat briefly, and that was Representative Paul Ryan in his response coming after the State of the Union speech.
We believe government's role is both vital and limited to defend the nation from attack and provide for the common defense, to secure our borders, to protect innocent life, to uphold our laws and constitutional rights, to ensure domestic tranquility and equal opportunity, and to provide a safety net, to help provide a safety net for those who cannot provide for themselves.
This was really interesting because what I would have loved to see was the GOP give a little more attention to the life issue. It's wonderful that they said, you know, protecting innocent life is one of the roles of government. We absolutely do believe that. But the GOP rode in on a wave of pro-life voters. This is why they're here. Pro-family, pro-life voters, the conservative movement ushered them in, and for good reason. So I would have loved to see them say, you know what, let's talk a little bit more about the life issue. It's interesting to note also that the Tea Party's rebuttal to the State of the Union did not include anything on the life issue as well, and Representative Michelle Bachmann is the one who gave that response. Very pro-life woman, but didn't mention it, so that's kind of disappointing.
We would have liked to have heard more. It's worth mentioning, though, there are a couple of bills that are moving right now which are definitely strongly pro-life.
Absolutely. One of them is the No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion Act, and this is great because this will basically put all of the funding restrictions that we've had, we've called them pro-life riders on the show in the past, funding restrictions on abortion will be made permanent. That's what the GOP is pushing for. So we're very proud that they're doing this, and we're really supporting that effort.
All right. The president did not talk about one of the key issues that he's hit from by his supporters, and that is same-sex marriage. He's probably being hammered on the gay blogs right now for that omission from the speech. But he did say this about the 11th hour vote by the lame duck Congress to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Our troops come from every corner of this country. They're black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American. They are Christian and Hindu, Jewish and Muslim. And yes, we know that some of them are gay. Starting this year, no American will be forbidden from serving the country they love because of who they love.
You know, this was probably for me one of the most frustrating parts of the State of the Union, because here at CitizenLink, we worked very hard with our constituents on this issue. They called into Congress, their senators, and President Obama and the Democrats still moved forward with repealing this long-standing policy. We know that 57% of military personnel and family members surveyed said that they supported the current law. They didn't want open homosexuality in the military, and yet the president pushed it through anyway, and that's really frustrating. You know, he talked a lot in his speech about, well, we will move forward together or not at all, and about bipartisanship and wanting to really be congenial, but he hasn't governed that way, and that's what we've seen in the past.
So he's moving on his own while talking bipartisanship.
Absolutely.
Now, speeches are nice and they get a lot of attention in the media, and it's good to analyze what is said in them because it gives you a sense of the direction. But what really matters is what happens in Congress, what actions they're taking. As you look down the road ahead, what do you see?
You know, I think our constituents can be excited. This is going to be a new era. It's not going to be perfect because Democrats still control the White House and the Senate. But the Republicans are more conservative now in the House, and they're going to be pushing more pro-family legislation, and that's exciting. Yeah. You know, under Democrat majority control, we couldn't even get hearings, let alone getting votes on a lot of important legislation. The other thing you're going to see is the liberal train slow down a bit, which I think is great for us here, especially. We can take a little bit of a breather just in trying to block so much bad legislation. You're not going to see as many bills especially pro-homosexuality bills coming forward.
All right. Well, thank you for your insights, and thank you for keeping track of all this, and we'll be touching base with you many times in the months ahead. And thank you for watching. We do appreciate hearing from you. You may always write to us at mail@citizenlink.com. Remember to pray for your elected officials, including the President, as we move down this road together. Pray for their wisdom and clarity of thinking as they weigh these important issues facing our country. And remember, stand tall and be heard.